I sat in a parking lot outside a post office, my hand shaking so badly I could barely hold the envelope. Inside that envelope were 12 photographs. 12 photographs that would end a marriage, destroy a career, and bring a powerful man to his knees. And the best part? He never even saw it coming. My name is Daniel, and this is the story of how I spent 6 months planning the most patient, calculated, satisfying revenge of my life. All because my boss thought he could take the woman I loved and get away with it. Now listen, if you have ever been powerless against someone with more authority than you, if you have ever swallowed your pride while someone bigger, richer, more connected walked all over you, this story is for you. Hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you haven't already, and settle in. Because what I'm about to tell you is proof that patience is the most dangerous weapon a quiet man can carry. Let me take you back. This was about 7 years ago. I was 28, working as a production coordinator at a mid-sized manufacturing company in Ohio. Nothing glamorous. Fluorescent lights, concrete floors, the constant hum of machinery in the background. I wore steel-toed boots and a company polo every single day. I wasn't ambitious in the way people expect. I didn't want to run the place. I just wanted to do honest work, collect my paycheck, and go home to the woman I was planning to spend my life with. Her name was Emily. Emily worked at our company's second location, about 45 minutes away in a smaller town. She was in administrative support. Smart, warm, the kind of person who remembered everyone's birthday and brought homemade cookies on Fridays. We'd met at a company holiday party, and within 3 months, I knew I was going to marry her. I just didn't have the ring yet. We were long distance, not far, but far enough that we only saw each other on weekends. And that distance is what made everything possible. Now let me tell you about my boss. His name was Richard Vance. Richard was what people call a type A personality. But that phrase is too polite for what he actually was. Richard needed to control everything. Every conversation, every decision, every person in his orbit. He managed the production floor like a dictator manages a country. Through fear, favoritism, and humiliation disguised as jokes. He was married to another employee, actually, a woman named Claire, who worked in HR at the same location. Sweet woman, quiet, the kind of person who always looked slightly tired, like she was carrying something heavy that nobody else could see. And Richard cheated on her. Constantly, openly, almost proudly. But here's the part that made my skin crawl. Richard had a hobby, photography, and he didn't photograph landscapes or sunsets. He photographed himself. With his conquests, in the act, and he showed those pictures around the production floor. I'm not exaggerating. He would pull people aside during lunch breaks, pull out his phone or a printed photo, and say things like, "Take a look at last weekend." Grinning, proud, like he'd caught a trophy fish. Most guys looked away, laughed nervously, played along, because Richard controlled their schedules, their overtime, their performance reviews. You didn't cross Richard Vance. I hated him, but I kept my head down. I had Emily. I had my weekends. That was enough. Until it wasn't. Richard found out I was seeing Emily. I don't know who told him. Maybe someone mentioned it casually. Maybe he saw us together at a company event. It didn't matter. What mattered was what he did next. He scheduled a trip to Emily's office. Said he needed to oversee operations. A routine visit. Nothing unusual. Except it wasn't routine at all. He went there for her. I found out later. Emily told me, her voice shaking, her eyes red, that Richard had cornered her in the break room after everyone else had left for the day. He complimented her, asked about her weekend. Then, without any transition, any subtlety, he said, "You know, you're too pretty to be wasting yourself on a guy like Daniel. Come have dinner with me tonight." Emily said no. Politely, firmly. He pressed. She said no again. And something in Richard's face changed. Emily described it to me later. She said his smile didn't fade. It hardened, like a mask locking into place. 2 weeks later, Emily was fired. Restructuring, they told her. Her position was eliminated. There was no restructuring. They hired someone for her exact role 3 weeks later. Richard made up lies. I never learned exactly what he told the managers at that office. But whatever it was, it worked. Emily was gone. No severance. No reference. Just a cardboard box and a parking lot. I remember the night Emily told me. She cried. I didn't. Not because I wasn't hurt, I was. But something else took over. Something colder. Something patient. I held her hands. I looked her in the eyes. And I said, I'm going to fix this. She asked me how. I didn't have an answer yet. But I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Richard Vance kept those photographs in his office. Not at home. He couldn't risk Claire finding them. His office desk. That's where they'd be. And I had access to that building every single day. I waited. 6 weeks. I watched Richard's schedule. I learned his patterns. Tuesday and Thursday he left early. Monday and Wednesday he stayed late. Saturday he only came in if there was overtime. And on Saturdays, the cleaning crew came through. They unlocked every office, every door. The Saturday I chose, I volunteered for overtime. Nobody questioned it. I was always reliable. Quiet Daniel. Never causes trouble. At 2:15 p.m., I heard the cleaning cart rolling down the hallway. The woman who cleaned our floor. Her name was Maria. She was kind. Mid-50s. Always humming something. She unlocked Richard's office door, propped it open, and started on the bookshelves. I walked past. Casual. I had a measuring tape in my hand and a set of rolled-up drawings under my arm. I stepped inside and said, Hey Maria, I just need to grab some dimensions off the wall drawings in here. She smiled. Sure, honey. Just close the door when you're done. She moved on. Down the hall toward accounting. I heard her cart squeaking away. And then I was alone. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my teeth. I set the drawings down. I opened the center drawer of Richard's desk. Files. Pens. A stapler. Nothing. Second drawer. Old reports. A phone charger. A bottle of antacids. Third drawer. The back left corner. My fingers brushed something thick. A stack. I pulled it out. Photographs. 4 inches tall. Glossy. A rubber band around them. I flipped through the first 3. My stomach turned. There he was. Richard. Face clearly visible. With a woman who wasn't Claire. And another. And another. I counted them. 12. For different women. All with dark hair or red hair. Claire was blonde. He hadn't even bothered to hide his preference. I slid them into my jacket pocket. Closed the drawer. Picked up my measuring tape. Took a measurement off the wall. Wrote it down. Closed the door. Walked back to my workstation. Sat down. And smiled. I didn't act immediately. That's the mistake angry people make. They rush. They get caught. I waited 2 more weeks until Richard scheduled another business trip. 3 days out of state. On the second day of his trip, I left work at lunch. I drove 40 minutes to the town where Richard and Claire lived. I found the post office closest to their house. Small building. No cameras that I could see. I'd prepared the envelope the night before. No return address. Inside, all 12 photographs. No note. No explanation. Just the truth, printed in glossy 4x6. I dropped it in the mailbox. Walked back to my car. Sat in the driver's seat for a long time. My hands were shaking. Not from fear. From release. Like holding your breath underwater for 6 months and finally breaking the surface. Claire found the envelope that evening. I know this because the divorce was filed within the month. Her lawyer, and apparently she hired a very good one, took Richard for everything. The house. The savings. Half his pension. Claire also quit the company, but not before telling HR exactly what those photographs represented. Richard was terminated 3 weeks later. Violation of workplace conduct policies. They didn't specify which ones. They didn't need to. He disappeared from the industry. I heard through the grapevine he moved to another state. Tried to start a consulting business. Never really recovered. Emily and I. We got married 2 years later. Small ceremony. Her mother cried. My best man gave a terrible speech. It was perfect. We're not angry anymore. That's the thing about justice. When it's done right, it doesn't leave you burning. It leaves you free. Here's what I learned from all of this. Revenge isn't about rage. Rage makes you sloppy. Rage makes you loud. The most devastating justice is quiet. It's patient. It's a man sitting in a parking lot, holding an envelope, knowing that the universe is about to balance itself because he made sure of it. Richard Vance thought power meant control. He thought his position made him untouchable. But power without character is just a house of cards waiting for a breeze. And I was that breeze. All right. If this story gave you chills, if you felt that satisfaction hit you right in the chest, do me a favor. Smash that like button. It tells YouTube the story matters, and it helps me bring you more of them. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's the most satisfying act of justice you've ever witnessed? I read every single one. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next story. Until then, remember, patience is power, and karma doesn't miss.